I may need your help today. Please tell me. The audio, the video, that's very crucial. I don't think my computer will enable me to check because I have 20,000 tabs opened up and it's slow already and we have so much to cover. Beautiful. Miss K. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. So, um, without further ado, we have a bunch of stuff to do. Literally a bunch. So much information, some that has been covered on Wales Wednesdays. So first things first, we need to, let's address the Ghost Warrior. Thank you so much as well. Good morning. So we need to address the elephant in the room, which is the Ghost DAO. What is going to happen? So you are seeing Sepolia Ghost DAO. We need to redeploy it. So we'll be redeploying this around July 23rd as promised. It will essentially have about a week of internal testing with the team and then present this to you guys end of July / beginning of August. Probably uh, faster than later. That will depend on. So Sepolia, there's no issue with that. The only thing we need to test is the gatekeeper, the actual bridging smart contract. So we'll have to test that specific thing. Everything else should be fine. And if all good, then you guys will see it end of this month / early August. However, lots of you contributed significant quantities of ETH, and that ETH is essentially locked in. There's no way to get it back, except for through a back swap. Now, the back swap for this Sepolia and also for the hoodie will be manual, but it's not going to be taking as much time as the GMV swaps normally take, which may take like forever. Kind of on purpose, right? Because kind of on purpose too. There's a reason for that. But these swaps will be super fast, so they'll be timely. So therefore, essentially, what you need to do is you need to slowly start converting everything into GDAI. Okay? So once you convert everything into GDAI on Sepolia, do not do this on Hoodie. Hoodie is good for now. Just do Sepolia. And once you do this on Sepolia, we'll then create a similar post. On that post, you will have essentially the submission details, which will be very straightforward, just your wallet address and your balance, and that's it. So with that, we will be able to swap your Ethereum back to you, Sepolia Ethereum back to you. We're going to keep 20% of it to ourselves for the faucet purposes because the faucet is going through the roof. We experienced the largest faucet quantity of requests 2 days ago at 53 requests per day, which is quite significant because it's all completely organic traffic, completely organic, no ads, no nothing. And it's just no KYC, right? And people just, we're not number one on every single page yet, on every single Google search page, but for some of them, say Ethereum Classic, we are number one. So at this point of time, the majority of requests goes on Sepolia, maybe 80% of it, maybe 70. So therefore, the Sepolia ETH will be very much needed, and the idea is to take some of that from you guys. I hope that's okay. About 20% we'll take from you guys. Everything else, you get back. Now you don't get back 1-for-1, right? You're not going to get back your initial Ethereum quantity exactly, precisely. You may get a lot more, or you may get a lot less, depending on the price action of how you entered. And did you buy some bonds, right? So that's going to be a nice way to evaluate how well did you do with your GDAIs, and then therefore with your Sepolia, because you kind of know how much Sepolia you invested in. Well, you put into the Ghost DAO initially. So the instructions for that will be coming up next week. Let me just quickly share with you what is to expect. So there are 3 options: either Fatso to GDAI, Stinky to GDAI, or Ghost to GDAI. That's it. You just need to get GDAIs. Once you get GDAIs, the manual swap will, we're not going to take GDAIs from you. We're just going to send you the Sepolia ETH. The GDAIs that you will have will be deprecated. Unfortunately, there's no back compatibility, meaning it's impossible for us to reuse the GDAIs. The reason why we redeploy GDICE is because for the next iteration, we would like to create an automated back swap. So you don't have to do this like manually, right? Like, so for that, we'll have to redeploy GDI. And therefore, we'll have to redeploy Hudi at some point of time as well. But Hudi will be a little bit later down the road. So FATSA to GDI, all you do, if you have FATSA, is just go to the DEX and just sell it. We're going to go through this instructions one more time, but just like really quickly. So if you have FATSAs, just sell them for GDI. Boom, you're good. If you have Stinky, first you'll need to unstake. So you go to the stake page, you go press start staking, and then you unstake your Stinky to FATSA, and then you go to the DEX and just sell the FATSA to GDI. Now for the Ghost to GDI, same thing. Just get your Ghosts. You go to staking option, you unstake from Ghost into FATSA, then you just go ahead and sell FATSA on the DEX. That's it. Now, so essentially you liquidate your FATSA position, your Stinky position, and your Ghost positions. All of that unfortunately will be deprecated. But we have the whole month. So not the month, like I'd say 2 weeks, maybe 2.5. So don't rush, but don't wait, right? So once this guide is out, it's going to be out, I think like this like in a week. So you can start acting and start preparing your war chest of GDIs. Okay, so any questions on this, please let me know. We are going to cover this probably once again, so don't worry. This is like not the last train. This is very, very premature what I'm covering right now. So given the fact that some recent discussions resonated with you guys as far as Ghost Warrior is asking, did you say we should slowly exit back into GDI or can do all in one transaction? No, you can do all in one transaction. Absolutely. You can absolutely dump the fucking thing. Meaning slowly, meaning don't like rush, like meaning don't make any mistakes, right? Like, like take your time. That's what I mean. But yes, absolutely, you can try to sell everything. Thing is, if you're trying to sell everything via the DEX, I believe it will give you the slippage, like the slippage warning sign. So if you want to dump the price, which is fair because the price will be dumped, it's nice to kind of put a bigger slippage to make sure if you want to exit in one transaction and see how many of us will be able to exit. Another thing is, it will be interesting to see the back end versus the market price. The market price is likely to drop below the back end. Probably not. But it's possible for the price on the DEX to drop below the back end. It doesn't mean like it does not mean that there is no back end. The back end is still in the treasury. Like the back end is still on chain. It's just that the market price is going to be below. So kind of the idea is that since the backend is specific and on-chain, the price should never be dropping below this price. But this is a complete bank run scenario when all of us are trying to liquidate and get out, right? Because we all have to liquidate and get out. So, okay. Given the more vision / philosophy talks, and since you guys kind of enjoyed it, that's also type of feedback which pushes to like narrow down the vision of where we're trying to get to, and that requires tremendous amount of reading. However, I think that reading may be quite interesting to you guys, so I'll present a super recent article that describes the state of affairs quite nicely. But before that, let's do something potentially interesting. So, John McAfee the other day came down to us and presented us with 10 commandments of pure Web3. So, again, the reason why we need to add this angle is, as promised last week, when you join Ghost, when you join a project, and that point of time, by the way, any project, right? Any digital project, any gaming project, any project. What we do create a username and we do create an avatar. And if you think about this is us creating an alter ego, like literally a different identity of who we are And when we are talking about simulation, there's not, despite Elon Musk trying to promote simulation, oh, simulation everywhere. Okay, great. Can anybody give me a freaking framework for simulation, please? Because I cannot find shit. Again, like what I'm trying to, I'm starting to understand specifically. Like this message is in my head for the last 6 months, specifically as I'm trying to dive deeper into various topics of interest that are super required as a foundational pillars of a community. There's no information. Like information is again best found in like some, I don't know, some underground type of research papers that are not translated to, some of them not translated to English, like you have to manually translate. Um, and the videos on YouTube have like 200 views, 400 views. It's crazy. I found this interesting podcast in a foreign language, which have to watch with subtitles. It's like 400 views, 200 views per video. It's crazy. It's like super golden information there. So yet there's like all this mainstream shit and bullshit like that nobody cares about, and it's right there, like top 3 ways to become famous and top 10 ways to make money on where, I don't know, on some websites. So the sacred act, the right, like when we join a religious organization, we're typically given a name. Same thing when we join a project, any digital project, we get a username. And it's important that the username that you guys select, and again, probably does not apply to you anymore because you already went with it, but it's important for that alter ego to be representing who you are in a digital world. You may have, and you do have, an essentially like an earth personality, but what is your digital personality? Now, that digital personality shall not be connected for anonymous reasons to anything you've been doing in the real life. Avatar, it actually has a sacred meaning too. So our avatars are all from the JML, which is John Malkovich, our spiritual leader. But we all kind of given a JML, right? But that's not true. So the JML that we are given, and yeah, it takes some time to propagate, is not the JML per se, like that specific NFT that you could put on the avatar, although you could. Think about this differently. So your JML will be changing. Why does it change? The reason why it changes, the reason why it's not static, is because we introduce a dynamic preset. It's like an innovation, essentially, which we applied for EIP for. And your NFT image will be changing. And it will be changing every single time somebody adds a collateral, every single time somebody claims a new NFT. So your JML, your specific JML, will be very, very like different almost every time. Like if somebody is claiming an NFT on that specific chain, your JML image will be changing. Why? Well, because we are all anonymous. Like, why should we keep the same JML? Like the JML means nothing. That's kind of our, our ruffle, like LOL, whatever, our way of like saying, guys, like, come on, like JML themselves mean nothing. What really is important is the collateral behind that JML. The image itself doesn't mean shit. That was kind of the purpose. And your JMLs do change. But what does not change is your status, right? So there are 5 levels of the JML collection. Essentially, the JML collection has 5 independent collections. One of them is, the first one is called Genius, then the second one is Degen, third one is Zombie, fourth one is Skeleton, and final one is a Ghost. So every single collection is more rare than the previous collection. We do have the whole website with the entire description of it. It's called jml.ghostchain.io that describes everything. So it's important to realize that it's the status that is important. So it is essentially not the JML image of that specific, pillar, like of that specific, level, right? But it's the level itself that is important, that will be differentiating who you are. And we do have certain council members in the Whales groups, and it's been very challenging for certain council members, righteously so, to essentially position themselves as councils in Whales. Why? Because you kind of don't want to dox yourself. You don't want anybody to know who you are. And the idea is to always create a second Telegram account, which is completely just for ghost purposes or for any privacy project purposes. In that way, every single council, kind of the idea is to mandate every single council, obviously give the tools first, to mandate every single council to represent who they are in the Whales group. So they're level 25, everybody needs to know it's level 25. Right? That's the council. That's like a super respected position, but at the same time also brings a lot of responsibility to the council. So that kind of the idea is to have it twofold: gain massive respect from the group, from the community, but also at the same time exuberate responsibility to ensure that that the rest of the community sees that the governance is in good hands or not in good hands, and then that will all force all of us to better ourselves. And I'll be honest, thanks to the feedback from you guys for the last 2 weeks, getting to the like narrow down the vision of where we're trying to get to is extremely challenging. It's very challenging. Like to know exactly what is that final destination, but it needs to be done. And it's there are two options. First option is to say, fuck it, let's just be kind of like Mirage. Like let's just kind of be where we are and don't change a thing. Second option is let's actually try to better ourselves and educate ourselves and try to understand what is possible. Currently, some people believe that we are going towards libertarianism, and that's very true. But there are many different directions. There are very different developments, theoretical developments within the libertarianism. Specifically, there's a classical liberalism, which is considered to be libertarianism in the US, which is not libertarianism. So libertarianism is no government completely, while classical liberalism is there is a small set of responsibilities for the government that is okay. And the most Austrian economists are actually, from what I understand, actually going pro classical liberalism, not liberalism as we know it today, because there's classical liberalism. So libertarianism used to be called liberalism before, right? And now, like today, it's like liberalism today is very different from classical liberalism. Classical liberalism is like 90% towards libertarianism. And liberalism is completely the other way around. Liberalism, on the other hand, goes towards, kind of the liberty, right? Goes towards like everybody has to have their own liberty, but the state needs to enforce it. So the current kind of definition of liberalism is the government will be a huge actor, essentially enforcing my rights, right? And that's essentially completely 180 degrees away from libertarianism, which is zero government involvement. We also have another direction, anarcho-capitalism, which is quite a funny one because that was initially created as a joke. Because what is anarcho-capitalism? Capitalism is not a political movement. Capitalism is just how economy works. The set of actors and set of incentives. While anarcho, like meaning anarchy, that's the political movement. So therefore, anarcho-capitalism is really just anarchy with a capitalistic type of economic structure. And from that perspective, we don't have to essentially explain that there is capitalism because anarchy, for the most part, would always proceed with capitalism, but not so fast because there's another movement called anarcho-communism, right? Which is very different from from anarcho-capitalism. So what are we? Are we anarcho-capitalists, anarcho-communists? Like, are we libertarians? Are we classical liberals? Like, who are we, right? So, and those distinctions are important to be crystallized from pros and cons, like what we're actually trying to get to. Try to define what we're trying to get to, and then see if that's even possible. Because what I would like to make sure is if you're building something, it has to be absolutely feasible, right? Like there's no point to build some, bullshit theoretical type of stuff that has been disproved already, both theoretically and practically. And that's a difficult thing to do. However, the suggestion is to proceed with all of that stuff together, right? So learn together and make those decisions together. So we're going to start first things first with the commandments. Coming directly from John McAfee himself, of course. So this article is not published. It will be published soon. But the idea is here, and the whole point of those commandments is every single time you think about a crypto project, ghost or not ghost, doesn't matter. You need to run that project through those 10 commandments. And if you are breaching, if the project is breaching at least one of those commandments, you should exit the project. Mr. DK says we need our own category. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with like Web3 Anarcha, Web3 Anarchy, Anarcha, DeFiism, something like that, or like Bridgism. Yeah, I don't know. Cypherpunk something. Decentralized something. Yeah. By the way, could be a good idea to start throwing some cool fucking names. I'm absolutely serious. Like, we need to be creative as a group. Like, that's what makes it so interesting. We're building a decentralized nation. Like, yeah, let's create our own categories for this, for everything, for the political structure as far as meaning governance, right? Also for for the rules based mechanisms, which actually not specifically tied to Austrian economics, which libertarians are so pro, right? So there are certain aspects of Austrian economics that are not fully, fully backed. Specifically, in Austrian economics, there's no such thing as value. Like at every single point of time, the consumer is defining the value of certain things, like right. And of course, such value then could either be defined by that specific consumer purchasing the good or service or not. And if I'm not buying the product or service just because of the price consideration, okay, then maybe the market is going to react to that. But say with the DEX, I'm still puzzled myself. Do DEXs follow Austrian economics or not? Because DEXs do have a specific definition for the value based on supply of both of both tokens in the token pair. So not sure exactly if this is true yet. Bitcoin is actually completely pro-Austrian economics because people say, oh, why Bitcoin is worth $117,000? Well, because like the end of the Austrian economy just say because, and that's a great answer. It's not a stupid answer; it's a very good answer. So we need to define our own things. That's true. So those commandments, right? So you shall seek pure Web3. And of course, there needs to be commentaries on what does it mean pure Web3. But pure Web3 is not what the website tells you of the project. Like you go to, I don't know, Solana, right? Like pure Web3. Okay, cool. But little do people know that Solana in their documentation have an admin account. An admin account is an account that can go ahead and nullify any balance of any token or coin in your wallet. Congratulations. That's Solana, the most decentralized shit, right? Like, how many people know that? And this is not some hidden knowledge. This is in their documentation, like publicly available. An admin can nullify your balances, right? Is that Web3? No, it's Solana. Okay, so based on the commandments, get out, sell the fucking thing. Now you shall guard your anonymity. That's very important. So you need to be completely serious about this. Very serious. This is not a joke, because especially for council members, let alone validators, if somebody knows your identity, they can get to you, and then you can and then you'll be sharing information about other members of the group, right? And that essentially your anonymity. The risk of your anonymity being uncovered presents risk for everybody else, right? So you no longer just I'm just by myself. No, you're part of the freaking group. That's important. So the anonymity is you need to ideally have a separate phone number, separate Telegram account, separate Twitter account, separate Discord, completely different email, ideally not attached to the first or second number, if possible. Even possible, it's attached to the second number. Never reveal your face. Lots of people by error, like turn on videos. Like no, this is not don't do that. People can take screenshots. Like do you know if Skype, Zoom, Meets, whatever, do not store your information? They do, right? Like it's easy. And we saying, oh, it's like whatever. Who cares? Yeah, we say who cares today because today everything is on testnet. If when we start making money on the bridging, then the kidnapping situation is becoming real. And if you left some type of footstep prior, you are screwed. Like your family is screwed, God forbid, but that's the case, right? Like, and as the division of, as the middle class is being completely annihilated, and we have, lower class and upper class, you become a way easier target for the bad guys from the lower class. They can kidnap you for $10,000. Right? Like, I mean, the barrier to entry is becoming, and we say, oh, like, the world is shit. Yeah, the world is shit because we made it. We made it so. We chose those politicians. We said nothing to those elites who making this all possible, who crucify the middle class. Like we're making all this possible. Like it's either happening with our, with our consent, right? Or we're just not proactive. Like, or we just don't realize, like we're just ignorant. But it's happening absolutely with our consent. So anonymity is crucial, absolutely important. And we're going to be publishing certain articles on how to kind of try to, to be as anonymous as possible. Ideally use VPNs, proxy, etc. You should control your keys at every single point of time. Your crypto should be in your wallet, or the representation of your crypto should be in your wallet. Specific example, there's no point to have Stinky as Ghost. Completely useless. Doesn't need to be. Right? It's absolutely useless. It's just a receipt to get your e-Ghost. But the cool projects that realize that that's the case, give you those receipts. You always control your Stinky in your wallet. It's always there. Right? So easily you could have just staked your e-Ghost and get nothing. Get a, ledger entry somewhere. And then you go back and then magically you are not able to get your e-Ghost back with the staking rewards. So it's purposefully that you get your Stinkies immediately, right? Or there's, I think, the vesting schedule, maybe there's like a day or whatever, but you get your Stinkies. And once you get your Stinkies, that's your receipt for e-Ghost plus the staking rewards. So watch the projects that do that. Somebody takes your funds. Somebody takes your crypto. Don't give you any representation. That's not a red flag. That's a fucking no. Immediately, that's a fucking no. Right? And I would say that's one of the biggest sins that users in crypto in Web3 do. Same thing with bridges, right? So when you bridge, you just give your crypto away and hope for the best. That's the problem, right? Like that's a massive problem. You don't get any receipt that you can claim your crypto back. Nothing. You just send your hard-earned crypto to a smart contract, and then a day later or whatever, 20 minutes later, 3 hours later, whatever, or never, you expecting to hopefully please send me my crypto back. That's bullshit. That's not what Web3 is. At any single point of time, you need to control your crypto or the receipt for receiving your crypto, right? Depending on the tokenomics. You should understand your risks. That's very important. People just go for the APYs. People just go for like easy gains. Had a conversation with one of the council members the other day, this week, and it's like, if you're getting into Web3 as a council, you absolutely need to understand what is Web3. Like you need to know what Web3 does. And if you don't care about Web3, don't invest. Like get out. Like there are so many other things, like biotech, geospatial. Well, I mean, like so many industries, consumer staples, consumer discretionary, energy, utilities, municipal bonds, treasury bonds, corporate bonds, like foreign exchange, just vanilla crypto like Bitcoin. Like there's so many things out there. But if you want to get into Web3, you absolutely need to understand what it is and therefore understand its risks. Right? That's very important. And then study this in detail, like study and study and study and study and study. You need to become dangerous. I asked that person a question, are you dangerous in Web3? He said, absolutely not. That's it. I mean, that's like, what do you mean absolutely not? Like, what kind of response is that? Like, you need to get dangerous. You need to become very dangerous in whatever the space you invest in. Doesn't mean It's not just for Web3. This point is for any investment you make. Same thing as validators. Like, you're just validating a node. That's good, but you're still spending your resources on the node. You're still spending your time. You need to understand what you're getting yourself into. Ask questions. If something's not clear, we'll be working on stuff. And you can also contribute to help us, develop certain materials, which the community slowly but surely does. You shall verify, not trust. That's essentially, as a subsequent theorem from point 3 to point 5. Like, always verify anything. Do not believe a thing. Every single thing needs to be verified. I say that this is back. Okay, check it out. What's the address? What's the address for the backing? By the way, it's presented, I think, already in the article that has been published recently or will be published. We put all the addresses, but like, okay, it's on-chain. Where is it on-chain? Can I see it? Yes, you can, right? Like, I think it's where it's here, right? That's the treasury. Okay, that's cool. That's a UI representation. Can I see it on the smart contract? Give me the smart contract, right? Like, those are the questions we need to start asking. That's very important, right? Like, everything, like, we need to have full understanding. Because here's the thing, like, maybe the developer's missing something too, right? We all incentivize to make sure that this ecosystem is as transparent as possible, because transparency will inevitably create trust, thus inevitably create an easier attraction mechanism for other users. So if you miss something, we need to know what we missed. And if maybe we don't know ourselves, so ask questions for yourselves, like, how is this, where is this, okay, it's just, somebody wrote this down. I can fucking change this to $6 million USD. Where is this? Like, where is this information from? How is it backed? What are the formulas? Many formulas are coming soon. Like, we're working hard, but keep asking these questions that they're important for the discussion purposes, for your own understandings. Okay. Yeah, shall not chase false profits. So that's specifically useful for high APY projects that have been extremely popular in the DeFi space. And if something is too good to be true, it is too good to be true, right? So we all know that. So be very cognizant of risk reward. So if there's massive upside, there's massive risk as well. Risk means you lose your money, 100% of it, right? If something doesn't go by the plan. So, but the risk does not just, is not just in the kind of within the space of the financial markets or financial performance as well. They can be around, right? Like, for example, great examples are, I can go ahead and stake my stablecoins on Binance for like 10%, whatever, say 10% APY. Okay, great. I can make 10% APY. My risk is not that they will not deliver 10% APY to me on the Binance. My risk is that the Binance will fucking hack me. Somebody will hack me on Binance, or Binance will itself at some point of time will just collapse. And if you think that's not possible, think again with FTX. Nobody thought FTX was possible, right? So the 10% is not that the 10% is not realistic. It's like, what is around the 10% stuff? Like, do I control my keys? Do I know what is the tokenomics? Do I understand it? Right? It's very important. Usual supports open source. What does it mean is, if the code is not publicly available, anything that's written on the website is trash. Example, Layer 0. They used to be open source, then they got massive investment, hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, and they closed the open source. Okay, because VCs told them probably that you need to protect your IP, intellectual property. Okay, cool. But I cannot audit the fucking code. I don't know what you guys do on the background. I have no clue. Zero idea. I think same thing with Axelar. Like, I don't see anything. Like, I would say from the project that we've seen in Web3 for, like, every week we analyze another project. I would say about 90% of these projects don't have documentation. They just don't have documentation, period. Let alone GitHub. Documentation is just the description of what the code is supposed to do. There's nothing. There's no GitHub link. Like, there's no fucking code. They write some stuff and there's no code base. So, like, it's not that they're not open source. They probably didn't even start GitHub yet. They probably have a token, but they don't have the code base. Like, it's crazy. Very important. That's a sin. We should probably have another one, which is like 7 sins. You shall avoid centralized control. This one is more high level, but not necessarily, because how are you as far as the governance? Like today, for example, goes down decentralized, right? Like we launched bonds ourselves, right? So that's not a good thing. Like we should be doing this with the governance, and we'll be doing this later on in next editions of Goes DAO. For now, let's just play with bonds. But yes, like, am I a validator? Am I validating blocks? If Goes DAO is a DAO, what's my governance? Like, what do I do? Like, what do I need to, right? Because when you understand what you are in charge when it comes down to the governance, you will realize how much you need to know to become a valuable player, right? A valuable actor. And things like, oh, I'm not technical, things like, oh, I don't know math, things like, I'm not this or that, they actually become secondary. Once you understand yourself, what is the reason, like, what is the responsibility, what is the upcoming responsibility, you immediately start becoming more interested to learn more about it. It's just the human psychology. So the more questions you ask, um, the more engaged you become. You shall contribute before claiming. Oh my god, that's my favorite. You shall contribute before claiming. And the commentary, by the way, some of that stuff came out of ChatGPT. Well, DeepSeek, whatever, one of those. Airdrop farmers shall be purged. True builders inherit the network. I did not even say that. This one specifically was designed by DeepSeek, probably from all the previous articles. Like it kind of like read my mind. I did not specifically write this sentence. The DeepSeek wrote this sentence. This is so true. Like if you hear just airdrop farmer, congratulations. Like I mean, you can get your GMVs, but that's stupid. That's just a um yeah, that's just dumb because you're not going to be able to exit necessarily because you won't know how. Like it's a honeypot. Like you just don't. And then you shall exit gracefully. Like once I like this commentary. If a project betrays its principle, abandon it without regret. Yes, immediately. Like save your time, save your money, save your focus. Like that's important. Okay. Uh, those are the commandments. We'll probably be editing some of them as we go. But what do you guys think? Curious to hear what you guys think about it. Is that a good direction? What would you add? What would you correct? Let me go to the next topic because we don't have a lot of time. I have a lot of things to cover today. Let me just wait for like 10 seconds because there's delay between YouTube and the commandments. Okay, let's go to the next one. If you have questions, please ask. If you have some feedback, please do throw it. It's very your feedback is like absolutely crucial. Okay. So another one is a ghost test. So this will be used specifically for upcoming council members and not necessarily for whales or validators because we have to be permissionless. Like you don't pass the test, so what? But for council members, I think it's a good idea to make sure that it's a right fit for both the upcoming council members and for the project as well. So let's do it together right now, shall we? Do not put your answers in the chat. Do not. You can submit your answers at the end of the day. You can submit them to me in PM if you want, or you can just tell me roughly what was your average. Right? So you can say option A. So every single question has A, B, C, D. Option A is 1, option 2, option B is 2, option C is 3, option D is 4. You can just count your options, just give me the average. Right? There are 12 questions. So let's go through them right now if you guys interested. So this article is not published. It will be. I think I didn't run this by the team yet, so nobody reviewed. This is like super fresh. I just did it right before the call. So super fresh, super exclusive information. Again, do not put your answers in the chat. Do not. But what you can do is you can count your average score and then submit the average score in the chat or in PM, up to you guys. What role should governments play in cryptocurrencies? Ban or heavily regulate? Regulate to prevent fraud but allow innovation? Minimal interference, let markets decide? Crypto should replace state-controlled money entirely. So A, B, C, D. Record your answer somewhere, A, B, C, D, and proceed. Again, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4. Then you can do the average in the calculator. You add them up and then divide by 12. There are 12 questions. Question number 2. How important are privacy coins or anonymous transactions? Dangerous, they enable crime. Useful in some cases but need oversight. Essential for personal freedom. Critical for resisting financial surveillance. That's question number 2. How important are privacy coins? 3. We're going to move fast because we have a lot to cover. Where do you store most of your wealth? That's why you do not put these freaking questions and answers in the chat. Do not. Banks, stocks, real estate, a mix of traditional and crypto assets, mostly in crypto, in decentralized censorship-resistant assets, DAOs, etc. What's the difference between these? So mostly in crypto means that you can have crypto on a stock, like on Coinbase, right? And this one is like you hold it yourself, like you hold your own Monero, you hold your own Bitcoin, you hold your own ETH, or whatever. Question number 4. How do you approach crypto investments? Avoid them too volatile, only BTC, ETH as small portfolio hedge, actively trade, stake, use DeFi, invest in disruptive Web3 projects, DeFi, privacy, parallel economies, etc. Could be NFTs, right? Like anything that is like disruptive. Should people have sovereign control over digital identity? No. Governments, companies should verify identity. Some balance between privacy and regulation is okay. Yes, decentralized identities, DIDs, that's the name. DIDs is the future. Absolute self-sovereignty, no KYC, no traceability. That's question number 5. Should people have sovereign control over their identities? Talking about our privacy, like anonymous identities in Ghost. Very important. 6. Can crypto truly change the world? No, it's just a speculative asset. That's what many people believe. Some council members believe that. Maybe, I mean, they don't say that, but they do believe that. Maybe in finance, but limited elsewhere. Yes, DeFi DAOs and uncensorable money matter. It's our best tool to dismantle the corrupt systems. That's the question. Can crypto truly change the world? 7. How do you view government-issued digital currencies, CBDCs mostly? Good, safer than unregulated crypto. Useful if properly regulated. Dangerous, they enable surveillance. CBDCs are a threat to financial freedom. They must be resisted. That's a question. How do you view government-issued digital currencies? 8. How do you approach capital allocation? That's why you don't put these answers in the chat. Set and forget index funds long-term holds. Balance portfolio with occasional adjustments. Actively seek asymmetric opportunities, early-stage bets. Proactively engage with community to make sensible impact. 9. How important is anonymity online? Not important, I have nothing to hide. Somewhat important for sensitive matters. Very important, privacy is eroding. Final, essential, surveillance capitalism must be resisted. Surveillance capitalism, it said. How important is anonymity online? We're moving fast, so if you have questions, please ask your questions so I can go back, right? Try to record your answers fast as well. Sorry, we just don't have a lot of time. I have one more thing to cover after this. 10. Do you feel a personal responsibility to change systems you disagree with? A, no. Systems are too big to change. B, yes. Voting and donations are enough. C, yes, through entrepreneurship or investment. And final D, yes, even if it means subverting corrupt structures. That's the question. Do you feel personal responsibility to change systems you disagree with? 2 final questions. 11. Should individuals have full control over their assets without third-party restrictions? Again, should individuals have full control over their assets without third-party restrictions? No, oversight prevents abuse. Some restrictions are necessary. Yes, absolute ownership is a right. Yes, and we should build systems that enforce this. Final question, question 12. What will dominate global finance in 10 years? Traditional banks and fiat, a mix of fiat and regulated crypto, regulated is key. Decentralized crypto and DeFi, and parallel, uncensorable economies outside of the state control. There are some instructions for you to submit your answers as an upcoming council. So curious to see what your what your score is. If it was too fast, don't worry, it's fine. Like it took some time to develop this stuff, and it's a tough test. Like you need to think about some of these questions. But would be nice to for all of us to test ourselves. Like it's all again at first step. It will be maybe more questions, maybe fewer questions. All right. Before I proceed to the final point of today's discussion, any questions so far? Any comments? Any feedback? So Miss Adiki said, "Good start on the commandments. Thank you so much." Ghost Warrior said, "I love the 10 commandments. I just need the time to figure out how to put them in action." Absolutely. So the idea for the 10 commandments is to you go ahead and truthfully evaluate every single crypto project, every single crypto investment you're part of. And if it's not in line with all of them, pretty much you get out. I think that's the idea. But you're truthful to yourself, right? You're not trying to sugarcoat anything. You're truthfully trying to understand what the hell's happening with every single crypto project that you're part of. Even if you have an NFT airdrop from it, like would be nice to to evaluate. Okay, let's get to the final point. I hope I'm not overloading you guys because typically it's not as much meticulous type of information on calls. It's usually me rambling. But again, the calls become more structured thanks to your attendance. The more people attend, the more structured the calls are. All right, so this is an interesting article I found recently. It's very fresh, and it's a really nice touch. Has really nice touch about the current state of affairs. So let's just read this together. So the article talks about legal plunder. So essentially, it talks about it's called The Law. It's called about legal plunder. And it talks about how it's a pretty big, I would say, article. It's 70 pages, as you can see. I actually don't see it. It's about 70 pages, and it talks about how law is supposed to enforce justice, supposed to essentially fight against injustice, and how that's supposed to be pretty much the only source of law, like the only source of influence for the law. So the legal institutes, well, legislature rather, that is enforcing the current law elected by the whatever politicians need to really just be going after the injustice and move everything aside. And the what this article is doing, it's saying that well, the law is actually the source of injustice. Like the current implementation of law is just the source of injustice. Like the law as a theoretical concept should be fighting injustice, but the actual implementation is that the law is elected by a group of politicians who act in their self-interest. Thus, the law is actually the source, the root for such injustice. That's what this work is arguing. So let's go through some of the things. So he talks about legal plunder. So that's literally legal plunder is like that law, which is the source of injustice. But how is it to be distinguished? So how can we distinguish the legal plunder? Very easily. See what the law takes from some persons, that which belongs to them, to give to others what does not belong to them. Boom. That's such a concise definition. I mean, immediately taxes comes in mind. The law is that we have to pay taxes, but we have to pay tax for ourselves to allocate the tax to policemen, to firefighters. That's good. But what about doctors? What about education? What about roads? What about everything else, right? How do we know that that was spent properly? Moreover, federal taxes, right? Say in the U.S., like how do I know that the tax dollar that went to build, I don't know, say a battleship has actually been spent properly? How do I know that? I have no clue. We have zero visibility. And they argue that, well, it's for that, it's for this, it's, to make sure the U.S. is the number one empire so you can leave, happily with no, with peace and stuff. But in reality, my dollar, my tax dollar, goes from my pocket to the pocket of the engineer who developed uh, the battleship. But I don't know. I have no clue. So that's a law. Like I don't know where the dollar is going to. That's just one example of such legal plunder, and that's a very very concise definition. It takes some time to really like get on the same page with this. Then he proceeds. Now, legal plunder may be exercised in an infinite multitude of ways. Let's just watch the current political events in developed countries as well as developing countries. Hence, come an infinite multitude of plans for organization, tariffs, protection, perquisites, gratuities, encouragements, progressive taxation, free public education, right to work, right to profit. Not everybody can work, right? Like you need some visas and stuff. Right to wages, right to assistance, right to instruments of labor, gratuity of credit, etc., etc. And it is all these plans taken as a whole with what they have in common. Legal plunder that takes the name of socialism. Here we go. So again, watch tariffs, protection. I hope you see some correlations to what's happening in the political atmosphere today, despite everybody calling this capitalism. All right, let's proceed. Now, the interesting thing is the socialists say since the law organizes justice, why should it not organize? That's a very important point. Why should it not organize labor, instruction, and religion? Like the law, the person is arguing that the law is supposed to be just organizing justice, justified injustice. But what about organizing labor? Why should it be essentially requesting a minimum wage? Because what? Because minimum wage is what? Is more just to whom? To workers or to the employers? To whom? Right? Like it's such a wishy-washy point. Or religion, for example. Again, nothing against it, but like you can have your own religion. Like why do we have to support it necessarily on the legal, on the state level? Again, nothing against that. I'm just asking. I'm not even me asking a question. That's the person asking this question. Then the person continues. This is so true that, as a friend of mine once remarked to me, to say that the aim of the law is to cause justice to reign is to use an expression that is not rigorously exact. It ought to be said the aim of the law is to prevent injustice from reigning. In fact, it's not justice that has an existence of its own, it is injustice. The one results from the absence of the other. So he argues that injustice happens first, and then justice is just 100% minus injustice. And what law should be doing, all that law should be doing, is just fight the injustice, nothing else. And then some structures, like socialists, for example, they are spreading the influence of the legal framework beyond it. And now to us, we live in this world, we're like, nothing wrong. We used to living in this world. But this is fucking crazy. It's like when you live next, when you, God forbid, you live, with crazy people, like you will become crazy too. Like you will think the crazy is the normal state. And nothing against crazy people. I'm just saying, like, you are, next to athletes, right? Like you will naturally stop eating sugar and start drinking water and start exercising because you want to, fit in. So today we forgot what the true state, what the truly free state is. We think that today's, say, United States or today's Europe is a free state, but that's completely far from the truth based on what this person is saying, not my opinion. So what are your thoughts on this? That's a recent article. Of course, I lied to you. It's not a recent article. This article, rather a book, has been written in 1850s by Frederic Bastiat. The question is, what really changed in 200 years? Like, everything that the person has been saying is true today. It's been 175 years since then. And lots of us have never heard about Frederic Bastiat. Like, he is the proponent of the classical liberalism, rather. So he still foresees the state to fight against the injustice. Like, he has the role for the state. So it's not pure libertarianism, but how come nobody knows about Frederick Bastiat and we all know about Frank Rousseau, Jean-Jacques Rousseau? And the Frederick Bastiat is actually goes ahead and Frederic Bastiat, he is going ahead and criticizing Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who has more socialistic views on the matter. We all know Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and we do not know who Frederick Bastiat is. Why? Well, because when we go to universities, when we go to schools, they keep feeding us the literature that is explaining the current state of affairs. Right? I would understand if somebody wrote this just last week. I would be having lots of critique. But this has been written 175 years ago, and nothing fucking changed. The other reason why nothing changed is because lots of us have never heard about who this person is. This person is one of the fathers of the Austrian economics. We haven't heard about him. Nothing. I found out about him like a month ago. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. The guy is a father of Austrian economics, the total competitor to the Keynesian economics. And as one person, literally one whale, this week asked me, like, oh, like, I would learn more about Web3 if Web3 was successful. Well, Bitcoin is massively fucking successful. And that's the biggest proof that Austrian economics is working. The market capitalization of Bitcoin is what? More than $1 trillion today? Like, how many asset classes in the world have such huge market capitalization? Austrian economics works absolutely, right? So this is just for us to think about getting more and more educated on the matter, getting the vision for where we're trying to get to heavily crystallized to know exactly what is our final destination. Because that way it's going to be easier for us to attract the followers. Lots of users are not there for Web3. Lots of users don't care about Ghost, but they do care about this vision. And this vision will become possible with Ghost as a tool to get to that vision. So on this positive note, I'd like to pause. Hopefully you guys liked it. Hopefully that's not enough. If you like this format, please let me know in PM so we could continue in this format because that way we can read stuff together and actually educate ourselves together. Okay, that's it. Have a